Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Welcome to Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The Center for Democracy and Good Governance is a sound organization established to promote and strengthen democracy.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
There are some interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch your limited funds.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Need a personal integrity booster shot? Your prescription is right here. Tune in with Eddie Frederick every week. Information is power.
Attention all forward-thinking companies. Sure, you can do with a continuous positive boost to your image and impact your bottom line. If you think training is expensive, try not training, and you will experience a perpetual downward spiral in patronage on account of increased dissatisfied customers. Take things into your hands and engage the best at motivation and customer care training with a tried and tested track record. Visit www.efrederick.com now and learn how you can change the atmosphere in your business and improve the customer experience for everyone who does business with you. Spice Island Beach Resort and Belmont Estate are two such local entities of world renown that have benefited tremendously from ongoing customer care, social skills, and motivation training. Training changes everything for the better for any business and every team member. Enhance employee performance through increased awareness and passion for the job at hand. Greater potential in your workforce awaits you through engaged, high-energy training that works. Log on now, www.efrederick.com.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
You're listening to Eddie Frederick, where good values make great radio.
Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Oh yes. Good afternoon, folks, and welcome. It's really a plum-pleasing pleasure to spend an hour at least on a Sunday afternoon with all of you. Welcome to Edification 265. We're in for a treat here today, folks, albeit a shorter version, a little shorter of shorter than what you're used to. As soon as you come into the room, just remember to do what you must. You need to share, you need to comment, you need to like, you need to love, and you need to engage as you energetically do week after week. Happy Sunday, one and all, folks. Happy Sunday. Our angel number, of course, today is 265. It consists of 3 digits, each with its own vibrational energy. A matter of fact, to understand the numerological meaning of the angel number 265, we need to analyze each of the digits. The number 2 symbolizes, of course, balance, harmony, and diplomacy. The number 6 resonates with domesticity, nurturing, and unconditional love. The number 5 represents versatility, life changes, and adaptability. So the combination of these numbers, they do suggest that the universe is actually urging each and every one of us to balance our personal and professional life to create a very harmonious and fulfilling lifestyle, which I believe we each deserve. Our topic for this week is new thinking intimidates those who refuse to develop themselves. And that is a travesty. Folks, we are seeing that too often in Grenada today. Dunceness seems to be normalized. People seem to be so comfortable being ignorant and lacking in knowledge. And you know, knowledge sophisticates a human being because vibrationally, we were born to be the highest operating animal on planet Earth. But you see, among even the animal kingdom, life is well ordered. But among us, it's harum scarum. It's so sad, so very sad. And we were born to vibrate at a higher level. But be that as it may, I just want to repeat the topic for today. New thinking intimidates those who refuse to develop themselves. Come on, folks. Tag your friends. I'm sure there are lots of people missing here today. Tag them, message them, share, and let's get them. Some of them complain that, oh gosh, nobody didn't get notification, nobody remind me, blah, blah, blah. You know the normal thing. So let's see if we can do our civic duty. Get them in the room, folks. Good afternoon, one and all. Those of you who just can't miss this and you're living for this so that when 2 o'clock reaches on a Sunday, you can be there. I actually ended up somewhere on Sunday last with a visiting friend. And interestingly, when I was leaving, that particular person there run out, oh my God, that is why you were not on the program today. Oh, Lord of mercy. All in the head. I said, behave yourself and go to home. Behave yourself. And I'm sure that person is listening now. But it was so exciting, to see how they were, pleased to actually link up with me to tell me how much they missed last week's edition. But be that as it may, we are here today. Folks, progress has always been the enemy of complacent people. Complacency and complacent people. When new ideas challenge the status quo, what normally obtains, those who cling to ignorance don't just feel left behind, they feel threatened. Their defiance isn't wisdom. It is the tantrum of stagnation. A stagnant mind refusing to grow. Isn't that unfortunate? And we have so many. How could you live to 40 years? You cannot read. You cannot write. And you are just happy to do nothing about it. Something has got to be wrong with that. Because there are other things that your inability to read and write will interfere with. First and foremost, your ability to reason. And he who lacks the ability to reason cannot enjoy life. Folks, it's my prayer that our topic here today will help to set the tone for a fiery critique while framing resistance to new thinking as a failure of self-development. We have to resist looking at new thinking as a problem. No, new thinking gives birth to a new you because it means you're evolving. It means you're growing. But if you want it more confrontational and nuanced or laced with examples, oh la la, just wait, because we have quite a bit of them here for you today. So here's a punchy, no holds barred opener that cuts straight to the point. Fear, being afraid, that is, masquerades as skepticism when lazy minds encounter progress. The unwillingness to evolve isn't resilience, it is intellectual cowardice. And when confronted with new thinking, the stagnant don't debate. They tremble, they deflect, because growth demands what they lack, the courage to shed their own obsolescence. You see, you are strongly advised to keep a razor focus on the psychological resistance to change. History is littered with the wreckage of those who mistook their ignorance for wisdom. The flat earthers, the people who believe the earth is flat, the factory bosses who laughed at computers, the critics who called jazz noise, all swore their intuition was enough while progress left them choking on dust. Yet here we are again. A new idea emerges, and the under-evolved react, not with curiosity, but with the same, brittle outrage. Their resistance isn't just failure, it's surrender. You see, the failure doesn't ask permission, It doesn't ask permission, because if you are mired in a failure mindset, you will fail. No permission is needed. In the same way, the future does not ask permission. It rolls over cowards and crowns those brave enough to unlearn. So ask yourself, when the next leap forward comes, will you be holding the door or clinging to its hinges as it rips free? We have a lot more where that came from. And so we take a little respite from it and make mention of our just concluded May Day celebrations. You see, the nation just celebrated its third May Day since the new administration came into office, with not much acrimony and negative tension, even though one or two wannabes may throw words at them in their continuous grasp for relevance in the current scheme of things. You heard the usual nonsense here and there from certain elements who are hardly able to lift their levels. But aside from that, nothing much to report. What a relief when compared to the sellout effect the previous years had on the nation's workers, whose union operatives were perceived, for good reason, to have been bought out by that old nastiness, while their members struggled to no end. You see, the current administration was promoted as an administration that would be anti-worker, because the principal, being, of course, the successful corporate lawyer in the person of now Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell, has been the lawyer that employers used mostly to represent them against the arbitrariness of one or two unions that have been known to use employees to behave in a stuck-in-time manner to promote imaginary workers' struggle just so that they can remain relevant and survive. Folks, I did not listen to any of the deliveries of union leaders on May Day, as there is nothing new on offer, except I am sure the one or two new leaders who would attempt to steal the spotlight with nonsense to either catch up or take over the lead in the negative charge, that is. Everybody knows there is no contention at present, since the same administration that was promoted as anti-worker, led by the same successful corporate lawyer who seriously wounded them in court time and time again, while representing employers against their arbitrary behavior, now that he is Prime Minister, has brought so many benefits to the same workers that they are showing signs of fear that they are about to be made irrelevant and redundant and of no use. We can hear the sound of shouts for survival. And if we all pay close attention, we can see that if the government continues on its path, members would soon realize that they are paying membership dues for absolutely nothing. They're mining people, in other words. You see, that flyer put out by the governing party 2 years ago, after its election to office, is still relevant today, as it correctly itemizes the following as achievements in almost 3 short years after the June 2022 elections. What about the new national minimum wage? After over a decade, we have successfully implemented a new national minimum wage, ensuring fair compensation for labor that fuels our economy. And of course, that we is collective. The government only represents us. So by extension, in doing that, we, the people, have successfully implemented a new minimum wage for ourselves. What about pensions? They delivered on their promise to pay pensions after 40 years of its suspension and procrastination by the previous administration from 95 to 2022 for the most part. They had absolutely no intention of paying any pensions. What about bi-monthly salary payments? Public servants can now rely on regular bi-monthly salary payments, providing them with greater control, financial stability, and peace of mind. Something that the last administration under the old nastiness, who in his own voice stated was impossible to do. After promising to do it, it was impossible to do. Healthcare professional salaries increase. That government, this same government, the incumbent, they have boosted the salaries of doctors and nurses, acknowledging their tireless efforts in safeguarding the health of our nation. An issue that has infuriated a certain union leader, as if the government as an employer needed to consult with them before raising the salaries of its employees. This is a sure sign of the nation's, the union's fear, rather, of its own irrelevance, when the country's main employers can take such initiative with nothing warranting the union's concern to receive any percentage thereof, as they had no work to do in order that their members receive any wage increase. Hello? What about regularization of public workers? With under 2 years in office, they have commenced a program of regularization of public workers, ensuring equitable treatment of job and job security for all. This process is ongoing. Rome wasn't built in a day. Good. We talk about salary increases and fringe benefits, recognizing the dedication of the public servants. They have granted significant salary increases and fringe benefits, ensuring that their contributions are duly valued. Within recent times, the pension reform for additional public servants who were regularized from the parallel contract-based public service established by the last visionless administration. You see, when one's agenda is honorable and pinned to bringing to reality the promises made during an election campaign, it is truly gratifying to see what humility in a leader can help him and his team accomplish in such a short space of time. Government is about bringing benefits to the entire nation and helping each national to secure a better standard of living and quality of life, not without work and not concentrating on only a certain few. You see, government is about providing improved education, healthcare, and other socioeconomic benefits to all the people, so they are removed from their impoverished state, which dooms them to either be placed on or remain on a vote farm of the wicked and devious politicians, as we saw here by that old nastiness over the extended period 1995 to 2022 for the most part. You see, as a people, if we only learn to prioritize and of course focus, we will be able to harness the greatness in each and every one of us. For Grenada is a great place indeed. New thinking intimidates those who refuse to develop themselves. So the old nastiness and his goons could always have them trapped in that cocoon where they can't G and they can't O. And all they could see is what they're accustomed to, if even what they're accustomed to is harmful to themselves. Folks, when we return, we will seek to explain the sense of reaching enough in one's journey and why it can lead to complacency. So let's take a little quick break and we'll come right back with a lot more.
Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and or affiliates of this program.
You're tuned to Eddie Frederick, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks, wonderful, and welcome back. It's, more than just a plum-pleasing pleasure to have all of you in the room as per usual. And for those of you just joining, I'd like to welcome you and, of course, ask you to do the honorable thing. Share for us, please. Tag your friends whom you might come and you have not seen online here today. Just give them a little nudge, a little reminder, and share to other people so that we can expand the portfolio. So welcome back. Folks, the sense of reaching enough in one's journey kind of often leads to complacency. It arises from the complex interplay of internal and external factors. I want to attempt to deliver what you call a structured breakdown for you today. There are psychological factors that must be considered. Comfort zone is one. You see, familiarity and safety reduce the perceived need for risk-taking. Fear of failure or disruption to stability can anchor someone in their current state, good or bad. What about satisficing? That's an interesting word. Acceptance of an available option as satisfactory. That is what is called satisficing versus maximizing. You see, satisficers, they aim for adequacy rather than perfection, prioritizing contentment over endless striving. But burnout is another one. Exhaustion from prior efforts may lead to a prolonged pause, mistaking recovery for permanent satisfaction. The other area is external influences, social validation, good, positive feedback or societal approval, promotions, praise. They can signal success, reducing motivation to push for further. We talk about comparison. If peers or reference groups are similarly situated, complacency may follow. Lack of exposure to higher achievers can limit aspiration. So if you are the D level in life, you're at the D level in life, we want you to aspire to the A or B level so that you can become. No need to hang out with D's and D's alone, as when you drop, you will fall below your current low level and you may even perish. Don't climb with only D's. You will stay there. And if at all you were to fail, you will dig even deeper, because D is for deeper. Hang out with A's and B's. You may not get an A. You may not get a B either. But if you get a C, isn't it better than D? Hello? And when you get that taste for improvement, what are you likely to do? Push a little harder. Because you're not satisfied with the C, but it's higher than the D. That can help you develop momentum. And that is how you're going to reach the A through the B. What about economic stability? Financial security diminishes urgency as basic needs and comforts are met. Folks, we know too many people in Grenada who have what you may call financial security, but they have nothing else. They fall in line with Bob Marley's philosophy when he said, some people are so poor, the only thing they have is money. Because some of these people have no sense. Some of these people have no spiritual bone in them. Some of these people have no conscience. You getting the message now? But they have money though. And they just relax. They feel because they have money, they have arrived. But they arrive nowhere because they have no sense. They have no finesse. They don't even know what to spend the money on. When you see them, they don't enjoy their money. They don't even look good. They don't look healthy. You're getting the message? Come on, folks. We know a lot of people like that. What about cultural and societal norms? Values of contentment. You see, cultures emphasizing gratitude or minimalizing may frame complacency as wisdom rather than stagnation. What about upbringing? You see, families that prioritize humility or caution might discourage risk. They discourage you from taking risk beyond a certain point. Humility is a quality you exercise to prevent the ego from taking over, but it is not a state or condition that should predetermine stagnation. What about neurological and behavioral patterns? You see, the brain resists change to maintain balance, equilibrium, reinforcing routines and habits that feel safe. What about habit formation? Comfort becomes a routine, making disruption psychologically uncomfortable. But we have life stages and priorities to consider. Aging, shifting priorities. Example, family, health, leisure may replace achievement-focused goals. But then there's goal completion. Without new objectives, momentum falters. Midlife reflections might prioritize meaning over milestones. But then there are personality traits that we must consider. Low openness or conscientiousness. Those less open to new experiences or less driven may settle earlier. But you're talking about self-efficacy. Doubts about one's ability to achieve more can lead to resignation. But we need to balance contentment and growth. While complacency can hinder potential, contentment is not inherently negative, folks. It fosters mental well-being. The key lies in self-awareness. You see, intentional reflection. Periodically, we must reassess our goals and values. Is comfort masking fear, or is it genuine fulfillment? But folks, when you are distracted by always having people around you, and a lot of the people we have around us are wrong people, but we are not conscious enough to recognize these people are not good for us. But we know them long. And how we gonna look? And while you how we go look and we know them long, and I don't want nobody say this about me, you remaining stagnant. Hey, take care of yourself. You see, if more people would do that, those same people that want to pull you down could be motivated and inspired by your move. You could help them by moving ahead of them. It could influence them to want to catch up. Stop letting them pull you back, but instead you go in front and see if you can pull them up instead. What about control discomfort, folks? Introduce small challenges that avoid stagnation without overwhelming change. Recognize that these factors empower individuals to choose whether to embrace contentment or to reignite growth, aligning actions with their evolving aspirations. You see, the prevalence of ego, often defined as an inflated sense of self-importance, a need for validation, or excessive pride, that varies among individuals and is shaped by a mix of biological, psychological, social, and cultural factors. But whether it manifests more in men than in women is debatable. But research suggests gender differences in expression rather than inherent prevalence. You see, why ego is prevalent in some people? Because of psychological roots, folks. You see, insecurity, that's a big one. That thing is so present in this country. Insecurity. And you see it manifesting itself in different forms, folks. Overcompensation for feelings of inadequacy or fear of failure can fuel ego-driven behavior. We see that here too often. We know of a few around us whose urge to move on fuel, to fuel that what you call egocentric behavior, when they do not meet with acceptance by society, are instead rejected at every turn. We see that every time. And go and reject them is bacchanal time. What about narcissism? We see that too. Traits like grandiosity and entitlement linked to narcissistic personality tendencies often correlate with ego inflation. But what about self-esteem? Fragile self-esteem may lead people to seek external validation, further amplifying ego. But there's social and cultural conditioning. Rewards for dominance. Societies often celebrate assertiveness, competition, and alpha behavior, especially in leadership roles. We see it all the time. But here comes materialism. Cultures prioritizing status symbols, wealth, titles, appearance, can incentivize ego-driven pursuits. But then we have upbringing to deal with. Overpraising children without fostering humility or empathy can nurture entitlement. The absent mother or father, or even both, leaving a child to be spoilt by the grandparent or other, can ingrain waywardness in characters, accounting for their egocentric behavior today. But then there's the power dynamics that we must take into consideration. Hierarchical systems, positioning of authority, CEOs and politicians may inflate ego due to unchecked power and deference from others. You see, success, repeated achievements without grounding, fame and wealth, they can distort self-perception. But then there's some biological factors that we must take into consideration. Testosterone. Higher testosterone levels correlate with dominance-seeking behavior, though this doesn't inherently equate to ego. But then there's the brain structure to deal with. Some studies link narcissism to differences in brain regions tied to empathy and self-reflection. But the question was asked earlier, is ego more a male issue than it is a female? Research and cultural observations suggest gender differences in how ego manifests, but it's not strictly a male or female binary. Socialization. You see, men often socialized to equate self-worth with dominance, competitiveness, and control. Toxic masculinity. Those norms may pressure men to project invulnerability or superiority. But as it relates to women, socialized towards humility and collaboration, which can suppress overt ego displays. However, ego may manifest differently. Example, relational aggression, perfectionism. But then there's the cultural stereotypes. Male ego is more visible, bravado, over competitiveness, while female ego may be stigmatized, labeled bossy or arrogant for similar behavior. You see, but studies show that men score slightly higher in narcissism traits like entitlement and exploitation, but gaps are small and context dependent. Then you have to deal with power structures. Historically male-dominated fields like politics, corporate leadership may normalize ego-driven behavior in men. Women in power often face backlash for assertive behavior, leading to more restrained ego expression. Exceptions and overlaps, let's just take a little look at that. You see, ego exists across genders. Individual personality, upbringing, and cultural context matter more than biology alone. But non-binary and gender non-conforming individuals challenge stereotypes. And what do? They show that it is not inherently gendered. Ego is not inherently gendered. It is not to be male or female. Ego is ego, and it will affect us differently. So what would be your key takeaways here in this particular segment? Ego is universal, but it is expressed differently based on socialization, based on power, and of course, cultural norms. Men may exhibit ego more overtly due to societal expectations of dominance, but women are not immune. Ego can manifest in subtler ways. But what about health versus toxic ego? Healthy versus toxic ego. You see, a balanced ego, self-confidence without arrogance, is adaptive. Toxicity arises when ego undermines empathy, learning, and relationships. We really need to address ego-driven behavior. Self-awareness, reflection on motivations, validation versus genuine passion, humility practices. We have to seek feedback, acknowledge limitations, and celebrate others' success. And we must celebrate others' success genuinely. It is their success. It's not yours, and it is not something for you to open your envy pipe and just be jealous of or envious of. No! Celebrate others' success and be genuine about it. Yours will come. What about cultural shifts? Reward collaboration over competition and redefine leadership to value empathy. You know what's empathy? Putting yourself in other people's positions? Oh, yes. So in short, we say ego isn't strictly a male issue, but gendered norms shape how it's perceived and expressed. Recognizing this complexity would help foster healthier individual and collective behaviors. So, as a people, if we only learn to prioritize and focus, we will be able to harness the greatness in each and every one of us. For Grenada is a great place indeed. New thinking intimidates those who refuse to develop themselves. When we return, folks, we will take a look at artificial happiness. You know, like artificial intelligence. I remember addressing something recently at the Maurice Bishop International Airport, and it had to do with artificial intelligence. Very interesting. I remember years ago when we say somebody, it was a decent way of saying somebody is dunce or ignorant. This person has a lot of artificial intelligence. Look at how artificial intelligence has become something now that is actually determining the new level of illiteracy. If you are not artificially intelligent, hey, you will get left. When we come back, we will deal with artificial happiness, because we have a lot of people who faking it, really faking it. So let's take a short break and we'll come right back.
Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
You're tuned to Eddie Frederick, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks, wonderful. What a plum-pleasing pleasure it is to have all of you in the room. I see lots of regulars, Sawandi Akim, Lala Kerry-Ann, let's see, Reggie Reggs, Melvon, Yolan, Wendy. Oh boy, you people, Agatha, Jossie, Yolan, Donna, KD, Carla. Welcome, my dear. Leslie Ann, Rudy, Theo, my good old friend there. Oh, bless your heart, my dear. Denise, Elnika, Joy, Nicole, Sibylla. Listen, if I only continue that, I won't finish my program today, because a lot of you today, boy. Bless your hearts. Thank you for being here with me as always. It's really a plum-pleasing pleasure to have you. Last week before, sorry, we did not see Sawandi at all. I didn't see him at all. But anyhow, I guess he was busy. But the program is available thereafter, so we're sure that you will catch up thereafter. So, folks, as I said to you earlier, we are basically going to be looking at artificial happiness and the key characteristics of artificial happiness. You see, first and foremost, we want to look at the dependence on external factors. It comes from material possessions, social media likes. It comes from drugs or other quick fixes rather than inner contentment. Artificial happiness. Some people have to drink to happy, you know. Oh, yes. Feeling happy after buying a luxury item, but the joy fades quickly. What about short-lived and shallow? That's another characteristic of artificial happiness. It's short-lived and shallow. It provides a temporary high, but doesn't contribute to lasting well-being. You see the fleeting euphoria from alcohol or recreational drugs. What about it's based on comparison and validation, tied to others' approval, Instagram likes, peer administration, rather than self-acceptance. Example, feeling happy only when others praise you, but insecure otherwise. What about avoidance of reality? Used to mask pain, boredom, or existential dissatisfaction. You see, binge watching TV to escape loneliness rather than addressing it. But then there's no personal growth that you can get from artificial happiness. It doesn't lead to deeper understanding, resilience, or self-improvement. You see, using motivational quotes as a substitute for real effort. But there's some common sources of artificial happiness. Social media validation. But why is it artificial? You see, dopamine hits like, from likes, comments, and even whatever else you get on social media. They are not real connections. And that's where a lot of people mistake the thing. Nothing hits better than an actual hello, a person-to-person relate. Hello? You see that personal touch? Nothing could beat that. You could say what you want. You could do what you want. But nothing beats that personal touch. The personal touch is very, very important. What about consumerism? That's a source of artificial happiness. But why is it artificial? Buying things for temporary excitement, not lasting joy. What about substance abuse, alcohol, drugs, or even excessive caffeine for mood boosts? You see, toxic positivity, forcing fake optimism instead of processing real emotions. But folks, we have to watch that. Superficial relationships sources. We have too many superficial relationships in the world today. Oh gosh, it's like Grenadian is a factory for that. Being around people for status, not genuine connection. Folks, from the time I find that that is what you want me for, I will jettison my ship because you will sink me. I don't want you around me. There are too many people over the years who have been coming around me just because of who I could connect them with. I have pelted a lot of them already. Go from here. I am not here for that. If you get that as a benefit and you're genuine, great. But don't come here with that intention. Because from the time I can see through you, I will pelt you far, far, far. Go from here. Because it means you're not genuine. And I don't want ingenuine people around me. So artificial happiness really and truly isn't inherently bad, but it can provide a comfort in moderation. However, relying on it too much leads to addiction cycles, needing more for the same high, emotional numbness, avoiding real feelings, and midlife crises, realizing life lacks true meaning. But how do you cultivate real happiness? Folks, a lot of people feel when they get enough money, they'll be happy. When they get the house they want to live in, they'll be happy. When they get to drive the car that they want to drive, they'll be happy. Hey, folks, you'll be surprised to know. When you finally get those things, you realize there's still a void. Because you know what really brings happiness? P-E-A-C-E. Hello? Peace brings happiness. Folks, I don't have a swimming pool, but I have friends who have. There's no need for me to have one. I don't have a boat, but I have friends who have boats. I don't have a plane, but I know people who have planes. And I have actually got free rides, international flights on them. So do I have to sit down now and say, boy, when I own my own plane, knowing that based on my reality that may never happen and suffer myself? Joke you making, that not happening. What's going to say? That not happening here tonight. Folks, a most popular word that I was brought up with in the confines of my mother's home, where she had to mother and father her 5 bastard children for herself, was contentment. That's a word I have a serious, tight relationship with. Contentment. So me and envy, not friends. Me and jealousy, not friends, because I am contented. You know, I just listened to a little tagline there that somebody sent to a very, very dear friend of mine, you know, commending me on being bright. I am not going outside there to be bright, you know, folks. You know what is interesting? God did not give us the ability to grasp knowledge, to hoard it. He gave us the ability to garner knowledge, to share it. And that's exactly what my station is in life. And I'm not sharing to appear to be bright. I am not sharing to look bright. I am not sharing to put anyone down. If you put yourself down, that's your business. But the point I'm making is I am sharing to give you a hand up. Because if I could do it, you could do it too. When you think of where I am coming from. Hey, if I could do it, this is motivation and inspiration for you. You can do it too. How do we cultivate real happiness? We say self-reflection. What truly fulfills you? Find it. What about mindfulness? Enjoy the present without escapism. What about meaningful connections? Oh gosh, folks, you all want marriage and parish relationship. That is why every relationship you have is a watery one. It is water bang bang. You need to have meaningful relationships that are concentrated. Folks, I have very few, you know, and they are concentrated. First, they're strong. Prioritize deep relationships. Get yourself involved in purpose-driven actions. Engage in hobbies, volunteerism, or even growth. Folks, look at what I have chosen to do for a living, regardless of the reactions of others. You think I give two hoots who think about me? Hell no. And look at who doing the thinking. Look at who doing the thinking. People that have no tendency towards growth. People who are down in the lolly drain, just kicking up and screaming down in the lolly drain, and they want company. Folks, it's sad, but it's true. What are my final thoughts on this particular thing? You see, artificial happiness is like fast food. Fast food for the soul. It satisfies briefly, but it doesn't nourish. Real happiness is slow cooked, man. It's a slow cooked meal. It takes effort, but it sustains you for life. You see, during the last 2 years, folks, let's just switch into something here, because Trinidad just had their last elections last week, Monday. And what an upset. But the writing was on the wall. We say during the last 2 years of the PNM administration in neighboring Trinidad and Tobago, we could not help but notice a great degree of artificial happiness manifesting as confidence in retaining the seat of government of the Twin Island Republic. Even though the writing was on the wall in bold capitals a long time now, that the People's National Movement, PNM in Trinidad and Tobago, morphed into a party led by elitist thinking, which drove the base into the mood of punishment. You see, it is usually 60 months for the elected, and all it takes for the electors is 1 day in those 60 months to exercise their power. It is estimated that with the opposition United National Congress, UNC, a predominantly Indian-supported and led party, winning the recently concluded elections by over 100,000 votes. A little over that number of PNM supporters stayed away from the polls. Isn't that interesting? They stayed away from the polls. A source close to the PNM, with whom I have a long-standing relationship, advised me that on election day, when the party machinery cranked up and set out to bring out the vote, they kept hearing from many of their avid supporters, "We sitting out this one, not this time. See how all you could win with all your big shot friends. You all forsake we, and we children for the last 5 years, and now you're coming to we? So how all you could win without us? And you all governed without us all along." And the comments continued. You see, the regularity with which they heard this type of punishing comments and the feedback was more than an indication that all the marginals were just as good as transferred to the opposition with a couple more. You see, the opposition ran a stellar campaign and hit at the heart of all the shortcomings of the PNM. People were talking not only about the state of the economy and the arrogance of the finance minister, but the regular wajong behavior of Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley, whose Patrick Manning's unfavorable comments were pulled out together with some of the stuff which he himself said that ran contrary to reality, like, we are not closing Petrotrin. Then came the death knell, the elitist manner in which he bequeathed the leadership of the cabinet and country to his hand-picked Stuart Young, bright legal mind and confidant. In fact, a very long time now, we heard the rumor that he was grooming Young to be his successor, sidestepping Penelope Beckles-Robinson, a long-standing party stalwart and a woman who challenged him for the said leadership before and was sidelined for so doing. That Tobago retreat of the party, the PNM, where this transfer took place, did not go down well with a majority of the PNM MPs in the cabinet. An open dissension was reported as coming from confidential sources within that retreat to trusted media operatives in TNT. Then there was a talk of the refusal of several of them to sign a letter agreeing to Stuart Young as their Prime Minister upon the announcement of Keith Rowley's resignation as Prime Minister and retirement from politics after 40-odd years. But you see, folks, just like the UNC is predominantly an Indian party, appealing to almost 50% of the Indian population, 50% of the Trinidad and Tobago population is Indian. So too, the PNM, a predominantly black party, appealing to almost 50%, the black population of Trinidad and Tobago. And of course, you notice I use almost for both of them because you have Chinese, Syrians, and other mixes in between, constituting to maybe, I think it's as many as 8%. So it's really 48. Black, 48 Indian. But what a travesty that whenever the PNM is in office, its people are never focused upon to remove them from a life of crime and criminality. This last 10 years, Jesus help you, 2015 to 2025, seemed to have been the worst. While the perception has been that the PNM leadership was pandering to the 1% who were really de facto leaders of the country and steering the PNM in a direction that benefited them. The supporters of the PNM in the main, the poor and vulnerable of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, was seeing trouble and forced to take to a life of crime and criminality to make ends meet. You see, the political system in Trinidad and Tobago was deteriorating at a rapid rate, especially in the last 10 years. It was easy to see that the government was out of touch and distracted by forces that were able to gain their attention and full focus. What could these be? You see, the perception is that they were dominated by self-interest, while they projected on the sins of the opposition between the 2010 and 2015 period that they were in government, yet for all, instituted no investigation, no legal action, and therefore no prosecution for. Even some within the PNM who were kept out of the corridors of power seemed to feel and even believe that the regular call out of corruption and bubble of the UNC when they were in office were to smother their own reality so they could do what they were doing in peace, while the attention of the people could be on the so-called past sins of the UNC and their cronies. You see, the PNM is an old party, and its structure needs to be addressed if it expects to attract more youthful talents among the ranks of its leadership. The old guard need to understand their time as it relates to role that they want to continue to play is over. This era calls for fresh blood, new perspectives, and new thinking to suit these times here, so, and now. If in an internal leadership race, the talents that would vie are people who have been in the party upwards of 30 years, this can't be healthy for the continuity of the party, where relevance of these modern times are concerned. The modern generation's thinking needs to be understood, and the people to do so are people of the said younger generation, who dominate in numbers throughout the entire region. Too many people around the precincts of leadership who appear to not be able to use a smart device to be able to make any relevant contribution to the true north development of the party, far less the country. The elitism of the PNM, coming from a man of humble beginnings like Dr. Keith Rowley, is surprising indeed, but I dare say disappointing at most. After all, where did this disconnect come from? Does it have its roots in corruption, in graft, or kickbacks from the 1% with total influence? If this be so, why? You see, bequeathing the prime ministership to a close inner circle confidant like Stuart Young, who is perceived to be in league with the 1%ers, was not a smart thing to do at all. The PNM is a black party and is that. Stuart was not a reflection of that truth about the PNM. He was the wrong face to head the government at this time, and so the party supporters rejected him completely. Not Trinidad, the party supporters. So if the leadership of the government was put to the general council of the party and done properly, the correct leader would have emerged to reflect the party and its history and origins. I am not advocating race here or anything of that sort. What I am simply doing is reflecting reality, and Trinidadians seem merciless when it comes to holding fast to their traditions in politics. How many times third parties tried in Trinidad and got annihilated? You see, they are holding fast to their traditions in politics of Trinidad being a two-party state. Full stop. You see, the other thing with Stuart Young, as observed by many, is that he lacked the requisite energy to match that of his PNM predecessor prime ministers, who were always known for the gift of the gab. You see, the frequency, the vibes, and the energy that he carried with him were off for that party, especially in light of the PNM's roots. You see, the rumors of pandering to the 1% gave the party a failing grade all the way with the masses. How could a party that has its foundation in the black population be in office and its constituents slip further and further into poverty and destitution under their watch, thus causing the younger generation to slip into a life of crime and criminality? After all, Trinidad and Tobago is an oil and natural gas rich nation. Make that make sense. Even the law enforcement arm of governance seem disheveled. Scandal upon scandal within the police, with even one commissioner being arrested on the perceived orders of politicians. Come on. The PNM really appears to have lost their way in truth. You see, the regrouping immediately after the blistering defeat tells a different story, to the point where the people wished things had gone the way they are now, with Penelope Beckles-Robinson at the helm. This, for sure, may have given the too close to call assumptions ahead of the election objectivity indeed. You see, the novelty of two women leading rival parties would have been a rare contest to behold. After all is said and done, the elections are over, and trustfully, Trinidadians will be the better for it, as the newly sworn-in Prime Minister has made it quite clear that she will head a government that will prove that the UNC's victory is a victory for all Trinidadians. Kamla Persad-Bissessar has said that too often for it not to be believed. Folks, are you aware that in Trinidad and Tobago today, the president is a woman, President Christine Kangaloo. The prime minister is a woman, Kamala Persad-Bissessar. And the opposition leader is a woman, Penelope Beckles-Robinson. Wow, these are interesting times for Trinidad and Tobago. We here in Grenada, folks, you see, if we take our time and focus and pay attention to the things around us. Look at that spiel I just gave you there on Trinidad. That wasn't written for me, you know. That is me and my favoritism, because I love Trinidad and I love Trinidadians. I follow Trinidad. I am immersed in Trinidad. As a matter of fact, I have a very, very close friend of about over 40 years of friendship in Trinidad, whom I speak with regularly. So I get the vibes, and that person happens to be very close to the politics of Trinidad and Tobago. So these are discussions. These are me being interested in what's going on around the region so that I can share with you. But if you too will pay attention, you will behave a little better in Grenada, because when your neighbor's house is on fire, you will wet yours. So as a people, if we learn to prioritize and focus, we will be able to harness the greatness in each and every one of us. For Grenada is indeed a great place. New thinking intimidates those who refuse to develop themselves. And that's a travesty in itself, folks. So let's take a little break here. When we return, we will share a few more interesting nuggets as we conclude the program today. So hold fast. We're coming back with a lot more.
Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is EDDIE-FICATION, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during EDDIE-FICATION are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
You're tuned to Eddie Frederick, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Oh, yes, folks. Oh, yes. Let me make sure I line up right so I have this correct and I'm ready to roll again. Welcome to this, those of you who are just joining us. I see that the comment section is very, very active today. Thank you for participating and interacting as actively as you have been. Blessings. So welcome back. Folks, I have a letter that I want to share. It's a short one. And I always find these, I get a lot, but this one in particular, I was asked to share it. It says here, "Dear Mr. Frederick, I could not help but notice your silence on the appointment of the 4 new caretakers for the main opposition party in Grenada. Want to know if this silence is consistent with the regular push that you have been making for young people to step forward and be counted, especially as they are in the majority, or whether it has anything to do with your total indifference to the specific party altogether. I see it as nothing but an attempt at redemption from the staged convention of that said party last December, and the right thing to do. Let's hope the old guard do not seek to scatter this trajectory for the forward movement of the political entity. Whether the young lady appointed for the St. David constituency will be able to have any impact, that is a matter of time, for time to expose to us. However, what I like about her is that she's keen enough to give it a try. We have to commend her for taking on that challenge and therefore encourage her to press on in the circumstance. A point of note relates to why haven't we seen any sidekicks lining up to shadow Modeste in Victoria, St. Mark, Bowen in St. George Southeast, or even the Dock in St. George Northwest. Yes, we know 2 of these constituencies are represented in our parliament, but they have been represented by oldsters, whom we have become used to hearing are falling back and will give way, but it never comes to fruition. Of course, the pittance they used to receive as monthly remuneration as parliamentary representatives has been substantially increased since the coming to office of the current administration, and they are not about to give it up. But we are not saying they should resign. All we are saying is that they need to be holding the hands of their replacements now to give them the necessary exposure to the trail and constituents. I have been able to make some observations relating to the young female senator who hails from St. Mark and who cannot be seen around the vicinity of the party, even though she was widely speculated to be taking over from the incumbent of that constituency. Based on all the work done by the sitting administration thus far, it is hoped that any fresh minds entering the local political fray will match adequately the new political landscape of leadership that our nation deserves, that is young, bright, courageous, competent, well-meaning, service-oriented, honest, and focused on the true north development of each Grenadian. It would be interesting to hear your perspective, Mr. Frederick. As I sign off, sir, I quote you, peace. I take this opportunity, folks, to thank my friend for this short note, which articulated to a certain extent my sentiments. And that is precisely why you have not heard me make any comments. You see, first of all, I wish to acknowledge that the talent is indeed scarce in Grenada. And as a people, we have to decrease the urge to bash people who step forward to offer themselves to the thankless local activity of politics. Now, you will hear me bashing old thief. If you know you're an old thief, stay away, young or old. Don't come, because I will change my address. But when it comes to young, promising, decent talent, whether you choose what I like or what I don't like, once you come with your fresh perspective, you will never hear me going all down on you. That is not my style. I am too much in favor of young people taking their rightful places in leadership in this country for me to go out on. But if you come with faulty situations, you know you have checkered past, you know you're no good, you know you are thief, you know you are this, that, and the other, you will be the exception. Good? I have nothing against the 4 talents that have been announced, and we must give them, hear me now, a goddamn chance. It's as simple as that. I mean, they join the National Nasty Party because it's still nasty. But there's hope. If they assert themselves, there's hope. You see? Because the person who used to cower them and shove them down and have them as tokens is not necessarily around anymore. You catch where I'm coming from? So they need to stand up for themselves. You see, many Grenadians who are spent in age and lacking in maturity and who have contributed absolutely nothing over the years except to take from the country, they need to give the younger generation a chance to show up with their intention to show out. Look at the bashing dealt to the young ones on the governing side from the time a new leader was properly elected at the helm in the NDC's 2021 convention. What can the bashing side expect from the supporters of the bashed side? I guess more of the same. You see, I am too much a proponent of youth rising up to take their rightful places in our society for me to join this bashing cycle. I want to make a point here, folks. In 1951, Eric Gary was 28, 29 when he was elected to the legislature. What was Gary, young, youthful Gary, saying in 1951, which is what, 74 years ago? What was he saying? He was basically saying the age of leadership had changed from old, frowsy colonials to a young, black, dapper Grenadian. Hello? 74 years later, among you want to sit back, LOLing and supping on your cell phone, and having a man close to 80 years wanting to run roughshod over you. You see something wrong with among you? Wake up, folks. Wake up. When Gary was overthrown, he was 57 years old. That, to me, is the marker. 29, when you're young, and in your 50s, go. Give somebody else a chance. Let us get fresh minds who are current in thinking to run the country. Not stale old minds when you see them, they're in a funeral, watch how they have the cell phone, looking. That's how they're looking with the cell phone. What are you doing with somebody like that leading you? Rubbish. Run them out of tongue if they wouldn't run themselves. If the trash would not take itself out, run them. Because it is nonsense. Your mind is stale. Look at how Grenada was before. In just 3 years, look at how many things this youthful administration has done for this country. And you had this old fart sit down there, just making mawet, spiting people, and talking now about victimization and rubbish. And all this man done for the years was to hold people down, promise to turn who into bankrupt. Huh? What's going on here? And you all want to normalize that and think that that was good. You all better get a life. Of course, I pity anyone who is naive enough to think all is well with the current opposition and its known and established modus operandi. A lot of Sene and Mr. Alba and Jays have to pass inside day for things to change. How are we going to know if these new youth who are stepping forward do not have the brawn enough to stand up to the nonsense that this opposition party is known for? Time alone will tell, especially if they are intent or, to stick together and not go in there to spar against each other. Because you see the ego, a lot of these young people today, from the time they get involved in politics, ego starts floating them. It's like every morning they go to the gas station and they pump them up with air. You see them walking around as though they're full of air. Take it light. Humility will get you further. How are we going to know if any of them is genuine? If we do not give them a chance. You see, over the last 2 years at least, I have met several young people who are willing to contribute in one way or other, but who are afraid of the negative response and reaction to their decisions. What a shame. Folks, it's like I don't know if they take Gramazone and they make some Grenadians, or if they take some Grenadians and make Gramazone. I don't know what it is, but we are so venomous. We are so poisonous. Look, I had a friend here visiting. We went to a couple government institutions to transact business. 2.5 days of this person's 6-day stay in Grenada lost in the system. Wrong information. You asking specific questions and the answer you're getting, oh, I think you have to do this. Excuse me? And you know, I'm side staring, I'm there looking at this thing. No specific answers. But these people want to raise a pay, and these people want union to hold government in their throat. Nothing works, folks. Just people eating our food. This thing, it has to be shameful. It is disgusting, to say the least. You come here and you can't effortlessly run through and whoo, boop, 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 and get anything done. You're meeting sour people, people who vex their life. Well, that's the only how I could put it. Totally hostile. In some places you go, folks, it is like, I don't understand how these people were, who interviewed these people. I would look for that person and fire them. Some of these people I've never seen back. If backwardness was a person, it would be their name. That would be them. I've never seen anything so. And they normalize that and think that is okay. And when you now object to it, something wrong with you. Something is wrong with you for objecting to this kind of gutter nonsense. Folks, we have to do something about that. You see, a lot of people eyes bigger than their pocket. And they see all you do this morning is bathe and put on some clean clothes and you go there. And they envy you for that, you know. They envy because you speak properly. They envy because you dress properly. They envy because you smell good. They envy because, I don't know. They just feel they don't know what your situation is. They don't know if you're pulling the devil by the tail. They don't know what your situation is. But just because you have composure, you carry yourself well, or for political reasons, they don't like you. So they get a chance now to torture you. Folks, that had to stop, you know. That has to stop. This kind of, you know, parochial nonsense that we are mired in. No wonder we cannot make progress. And you see how plainly I can speak about it. Because as I always say, folks, this kind of people, I don't want none of them for friend. I don't mix. I have become very reclusive. So that gives me license to just say what needs to be said when it needs to be said. I don't want no friend. I have who I have already. And watch me good. They like me bad, bad, bad. It's interesting to note that the people who sit back and criticize most times, the people who are getting involved in things that they are not qualified to get involved in, are not even capable of doing anything positive to lift themselves, but are quick to discourage and beat down the few who are willing. Young people, whichever side of the fence you want to get involved in, once your character is intact, your reputation will speak for itself. Get involved and dare anybody to tell you anything. Go with confidence. I congratulate any young people who are willing, in spite of the naysayers among us, to step forward and be counted. It is my prayer that they will change the discourse. You young people, you must change the discourse. Lift our political landscape out of the culture of the gutter. So when you get in there, don't follow no old guard in the NNP. Don't follow no old guard in the NDC. The old guard in the NDC was only qualified to get 15-0. They have a PhD in that. Don't follow them. And don't follow the old guard in the NNP, because all they could do is smut and nastiness. You go inside there, make a difference. Us mature among our population, we need to stand in the gap to help this to happen. And be objective as I've just shared. I may not be willing to help you with strategy and whatever, but I will help you with encouragement. You are doing the right thing. If we were a two-party state, everybody can go in one. You see an in, and you could make a contribution there, that's on you. You see our continuous negative projections contribute in no small measure to the general apathy that we see among our young people to participate in our politics. Let's be reminded of the young sportsman during the recently concluded Intercall Games and his reason for saying no comment in response to a question. We ought to realize that Grenada would always be the loser for the cacophony of ignorance that are released against the few among us who are brave enough to put their authenticity on display. You see, most, if not all of us, the people criticizing are so idle, with so much time on their hands to spare, coupled with their abject dunceness, that they actually can't help themselves otherwise. All the young people who are stepping forward, whether to join the ruling party or the opposition, with their intention to actively contribute to the political life of the nation, you need to stay focused, pay attention continuously to all the goings on around you. You need to ascend to the spiritual realm where you operate on vibes, energy, and frequency. So while you dwell at this higher place of inner consciousness, you are able to discern. For discernment has to become your compass for wisdom, guiding your choices with clarity and lighting the path to truth. You see, as you proceed to accept the call to leadership, please remember to keep your eyes on the prize, regardless of your political persuasion. Detach yourselves from the many poor examples around our local politics. Shelve ego. Polish your thirst and hunger to do good, so your legacy could be diametrically different from the many of our predecessors who have allowed power, position, and cravings for material acquisitions to spoil them and leave them with a lasting legacy of shame and disgrace. You see, too many of our citizens who entered politics advocated best intentions as if to appease the electorate. And when they were given the chance, they followed the path of little to no resistance, and they became what they said they were against. You see, the proof of the pudding is always in the eating. And so we wait with bated breath to see what will the new crop of politicians offer us. I want to wish them all well and trust that time will tell a totally different story of them. You see, my gut feeling is to wait with the expressed intention to give all of them a chance to show the path that they are taking before I assert my consistent opposition to any attempt at more of the same. This time around, folks, I plan to be brutal. If these fresh young people join the fray to deliver unto us the same drain and gutter politics our negligence has normalized here in Grenada, we are looking for a totally fresh perspective, and our young people owe it to all of us. To all of us. I trust and pray that my response to that letter was adequate enough to the author. You see, over the years, folks, we allow ourselves to deteriorate so much that many of us have become permanently negative, always cynical, critical, or even doubtful. Too many of us are allergic to positivity, and with the resultant impact of us being very comfortable with being dunce and proud to put on display for the world to see. When good news is shared with many of our people, they question it. You share encouragement, they downplay it. You make a suggestion, they find a reason why it won't work. People like this are not just pessimistic, they are contagious. Try not to be around them. Be careful. They will make you question your own optimism. Being reclusive helps, trust me. I am talking from experience. How should we engage with people like that? For starters, don't take them personally. Their negativity isn't a response to you. It is a reflection of what's unresolved within them. Some people cannot trust hope because they've been hurt so badly before. So they depend on hopelessness to protect themselves from being hurt and disappointed again. Negativity and hostility have become their armor, and no one is likely to be able to discern them. Folks, that's something they will have to do on their own. Folks, that said, the most powerful thing that you can do is to be an example of positivity and joy. You become the thermostat and not the thermometer. You see, the thermometers respond to the temperature in the room, but thermostats regulate the temperature instead. They set it. So know how to be that calm presence when someone's personality is too hot. Be a warm presence when someone's personality is too cold. Don't allow other people's presence to dictate your posture. Their energy is theirs to manage. Yours is yours to protect. Lead with light, even when it feels like you're the only one carrying it. My admonition to you today, folks, is to have, I want you to gravitate to people and things that bring you joy if you aspire to become a chosen one. You have to become a person whose frequency is rare. When you are a chosen one, folks, you do not just sit there and desire connection, You crave communion, and you are wired for truth, purpose, and alignment. In other words, you are authentic. You're not wired for surface level bonding. So while the world proceeds to date for validation, you move in vibration. And when the frequency doesn't match, you will reject the contract before your body can even know why. You see, the chosen one's soul remembers what others forget. The chosen are ancient. They carry codes for higher realms, timeliness, and missions beyond this earthly realm. So while others chase compatibility, you are subconsciously scanning for destiny. The chosen one's light triggers unhealed shadows. You would think love would heal them, but instead, your presence exposes them. What is most advanced is most resisted. So instead of being embraced, you are misunderstood. Instead of being cherished, you are crucified. Not because you are unlovable, but because you are the mirror. Until your equal appears, walk in your wholeness. Walk in your aloneness. Love yourself with the ferocity you once gave to others. Hold it back for yourself, because those others have disappointed you all too often. The chosen one always has to remember, he or she does not need a partner to complete his or her mission. Your mission will call for the partner who completes your frequency. That is called divine union. Until this happens, be content to sail and travel alone, for you are the chosen one indeed. As a people, if we only learn to prioritize and focus, we will be able to harness the greatness in each and every one of us. For Grenada is a great place indeed. You see, new thinking intimidates those who refuse to develop themselves. I am in, I am out, and I'm gone. Thanks for joining. Continue to share. See you next week at the same time, same place for more extraordinary programming. Until then, stay safe, stay well, remain vigilant, and stay lifted. Stay focused while you're at it also. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Type in my name, Edward or Eddie Frederick. No fake, because authenticity is the name of the game. Subscribe, like, and share, and be prepared to receive your mental multivitamins as straight up as I deliver them. Folks, take care of your wonderful selves. Have a productive week, and whatever you do, remember, you do it for Grenada.
Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This has been Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The Center for Democracy and Good Governance is a sound organization established to promote and strengthen democracy.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
There are some interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch your limited funds.
The Country Cool Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Need a personal integrity booster shot? Your prescription is right here. Tune in with Eddie Frederick every week. Information is power.
Attention all forward-thinking companies. Sure, you can do with a continuous positive boost to your image and impact your bottom line. If you think training is expensive, try not training, and you will experience a perpetual downward spiral in patronage on account of increased dissatisfied customers. Take things into your hands and engage the best at motivation and customer care training with a tried and tested track record. Visit www.efrederick.com now and learn how you can change the atmosphere in your business and improve the customer experience for everyone who does business with you. Spice Island Beach Resort and Belmont Estate are two such local entities of world renown that have benefited tremendously from ongoing customer care, social skills, and motivation training. Training changes everything for the better for any business and every team member. Enhance employee performance through increased awareness and passion for the job at hand. Greater potential in your workforce awaits you through engaged, high-energy training that works. Log on now, www.efrederick.com.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.